Okay, this is part 2, and this is now cost centers. So as I mentioned, cost centers is also known as support centers because they don't directly generate income for the hotel. So the examples are your administrative and general departments, your information and telecommunication systems departments, your sales and marketing departments, your property operation and maintenance departments, and then utilities. So we'll discuss the different sub-departments under each one. Right, then we have your administrative and general department. So under these is your accounts department, your HR department, and your security department. So your accounts division, obviously we said your controller is in charge of this. They have to make sure that they keep track of all the business transactions that takes place in the hotel. Money spent, money coming in. So they're responsible for forecasting, so planning ahead the future of the hotel as well as budgeting. They have to manage what the hotel owns and also what money is due from guests. So if hotel guests owe any money, and then they also have to control all cash and costs, and they need to have inventory of everything. Remember that all assets, all products, everything in the storerooms is money. So that's why there have to be stock take every month, and all those stock sheets goes to the accounts division. And then they have to keep records of all of this. Then we have your human resources division. They are mostly concerned with people and the people's productivity. Okay, so they are doing salaries, wages, and benefits. So they are responsible for the whole hiring and orientating and training and evaluating when it comes to the whole disciplining, all the policies, and those kind of things. Okay, so they are more communicating with the employees. Then your security division, they are protecting everybody, employees, the guests, as well as the property, the actual hotel. So in the past, they mostly concentrated on theft, but now there's so much more. So it's just violent crimes, it's all kind of crimes. Okay, so their program have obviously changed quite a lot, but the most important thing is that their program has to be preventative. It must protect before something happens. Okay, the people working there, the staff working there, has to be specially trained, and it's a very independent division. People mustn't know what goes on in that division, otherwise it can be compromised. Okay, if people know too much about that division, it's compromised. They shouldn't know, like a camera. They shouldn't know where that camera sees everywhere, because then people might know too much. Okay, in charge here is your chief of security. This chief of security should have extensive background in law enforcement and also have specialized training in civil and criminal law. So this department works very closely with the police and fire department. They have a security program that they follow or includes. So it includes the security, obviously the staff that works there. They have specific equipment, like I mentioned, the CCTV cameras, all kinds of things. And then your master keys. The master keys, they obviously have access to everywhere in the hotel. And then you have your safety procedures, like the evacuation procedures, different protocols that they have to follow. And then they also have identification procedures. You and me sitting here wouldn't know a perpetrator from a bar of soap if they looked like a normal person, where a trained security personnel knows how to spot somebody that looks like a perpetrator. Okay, information and telecommunications are more like IT. Back in the day, before our before our smartphones, guests had to pay to make long distance calls, and they had to pay to use Wi-Fi and things like that. Today, they can just log in, use a password to have Wi-Fi and things like that. So this department has computers, ensures that the computer hardware and software is there, like the reservation systems and things like that. So it's basically more for the hotel, for the staff to make long and distance calls, but the hotel has Wi-Fi and things like that, so guests don't really pay for that anymore. Then you've got your sales and marketing division. Obviously, the purpose of this department is to get the guests. Okay, they have to bring in the money, the people that spends the money. So their mission is to identify prospective guests and also to shape the products and services to meet the needs. So they have to make sure that all the rooms are occupied at the right price with the right mix of guests. And how? By contacting the groups and individuals, by sending them emails, by sending them promotion offers. You know, there's many different ways. They can advertise, but they need to advertise through the right medium. They can use print, they can use radio, TV, whichever way. It all depends on the target market. If you, for instance, was my target market, excuse me, I would not, for instance, use the newspaper, not at all. I would use this, and I would most likely use Insta, or I would use Facebook. Okay, because that's where I will reach you. They also need to create direct mail and public relation campaigns. They can also participate in trade shows like Hostex, like the Good Food and Wine Show, places where people see them and get to know their name. Also familiarization tours and to participate in community services. See that they care about the community. Property operation and maintenance department, that is your engineering department. So your engineering department takes care of your physical plant and controlling your energy costs. They have to obviously make sure that the physical upkeep is essential. So just like when you buy a new car, you have to take it for regular service because you don't want it to break, and most of us would like to drive it for a long time because we can't afford to drive it for 5 years only. So if you think about an oven, those industrial ovens and things like that in a hotel, they are extremely expensive. So rather than servicing it regularly and looking after it, making sure that it functions properly, cleaning it properly, draining it properly, regularly, um, it's better than to do that than not looking after it at all, and then it breaks and you have to spend so much money to get a new one. So it's better to do preventative maintenance. So it slows his physical deterioration. They have to keep revenue producing areas operational. That's how I mean, with making sure that all these areas function properly, keep the property comfortable for guests and employees, preserve safety for guests and employees, and keep savings by keeping repairs and equipment replacement to a minimum. Servicing. Okay, so there's several technicians also that works in this department. At the previous hotel where I worked, the engineering department had specialized technicians. So they had technicians that specialized in plumbing. They had technicians that specialized in electrics or electricians, as well as ventilations. So those technicians worked on those areas specifically. In charge is your chief engineer, making sure that all of this works properly. So yeah, that is basically what maintenance does. Then when we get to your, or just before I go on, this was your revenue and your cost sectors. Okay, so please make sure that you know all the different departments. Right, so now we get to ADA. ADA stands for Americans with Disability Act. So this act, by law, they have to comply with or adhere. So this act basically says that all hotels have to make it accessible and convenient for people with disabilities. Okay, not just for guests, but also for employees in many different ways, practical ways. So whether it's ramps for wheelchairs, all kinds of things. So you can have a look in your book, but there's also many different other ways that you guys can do research on. Okay, so then there is control systems. There needs to obviously be two very important control systems, your financial controls and your quality controls. Financial controls is obviously to do again with accounts. They need to see money coming in, money coming out, making a profit. Okay. Whenever there is assets, when you occur in expenses and losses or whatever, there has to be a uniform of accounts. Okay. The tool that they normally use is financial statements. So there has a statement of income, assets and liabilities, and balance sheets. That's all you need to know. And then there's quality controls. Obviously, they need to get inspect the finished items. They need to get feedback from the guests, where they went wrong, what can they do better. That's what I mean with regards to quality controls. Then with regards to consistency in your quality controls, very important that you set standards. You need to select the right employees. They must obviously be continuously trained. They must also be involved to set their own performance standards and solve their own working problems. And there has to be a feedback system. Consistency. Consistency is very important. Right, with regards to setting standards, the guests expect a certain quality. Okay, if a guest books to stay and stays at a 5-star a 5-star place, they expect 5-star service. Anything less than that, I mean, they're going to be disappointed. So your employees must be trained against 5-star standards. With regards to selecting employees, it's very important to select your employees in the correct way. We've discussed it a little bit previously. You need to have the right selection process, screening process, and all of that. And then training your employees, it's very important that it is a continuing, an ongoing and full commitment of management is very, very important. Okay, it can't just happen once. It needs to be an ongoing thing. Involving your employees, also just as important. You need to have a democratic or participative style of management. The person doing the job knows how the job can be done better. So problem solving and decision making should be done at the lowest capable level in an organization. So from the person cleaning the dustbins. Okay. Give them the opportunity to make decisions as well. Let them have an opinion. People are the greatest untapped resource in the organization. Every person needs to have an opinion. So people will meet expectations if they have been enabled to do so. Okay, so listen to your staff, involve your staff. They are not just workers, they are also people. Evaluating quality programs. Management must verify the consistency of product and service quality. How can you do that? Not by you as a manager sitting there in your office and drinking coffee the whole day. Walk around. Walk around and see how your guests are experiencing your hotel, how your staff is treating your guests. Are they smiling? Are they happy? Walk around. Another way that you can also do this is by sending out a mystery guest or a mystery shopper. You can meet with that person beforehand and say, please, can you have a look at this area, and this area? I want you to pretend as if you are a guest, and I would like feedback from you. And then you would know which areas do you need to focus on, work on, what is good, what is bad, things like that. Rewards for achievement goes hand in hand, both a salary and a bonus. What's very important that you need to reward your staff. Staff needs to be recognized for their hard work. Okay, so it's not just a salary and a bonus. You can have gift employee of the month, you can have gift certificates, you can have special parking spaces. Be creative, do anything like that, but just say thank you for your hard work. And then with regards to technology, once again, hotels, guests prefer technology because it makes things so much faster, and hotels have to implement it. They have to adapt to technology because that is what guests want. So there's many things with regards to technology that hotels have adapted to. So this is a nice long question. We've asked this many times. In your book, they mention quite a few, as you can see. So we ask this as a long question where you need to explain each one. You can go through it in the book, please. But I don't just stick to book knowledge. If you want to mention any relevant technological applications that hotel use out there, please feel free, but just remember that it has to be relevant. Hope that you enjoyed this chapter. Please feel free to ask any questions.